Hello, YouTubers. Level-headed your host, Brenda. Making sure that I've got everything working properly here. It looks like I do. Let's see. Maybe yes, maybe no. Checking to see if I've got the working right on the screen there. I think everything's working right now. Gee whiz. One of them days. Technical for me. Lord have mercy. All right. Well, started into it here. Well, everything seems to be working right. I have a dozen articles for you. All the URLs are in the description of this video for your convenience. First one here is off of Fox News World. It says North Korea threat directly criticizes China in a rare move. And scroll down here a little bit. There is some video in this if you want to pull it up and watch that. It says state media criticized China directly Wednesday, saying its reckless remarks on North Korea was testing its patience, unspecified grave consequences. Released by the state-run Korean Central News Agency said that a string of absurd and reckless remarks are now heard from China every day, only to render the present bad situation tenser. The article cited commentaries by Chinese state media that it said shifted the blame bilateral relations onto the North and raised lame excuses for the base acts of dancing to the tune of the U.S. China should no longer try to test the limits of the DPRK's patience, Terry said. China had better ponder over the grave consequences by its reckless act of chopping down the pillar of the DPRK. The commentary was responding to an article in China's state-backed Global Times that warned the North's actions threatened a 1961 treaty of non-aggression between the two countries. Regime to end its nuclear tests, not allow its northeastern region to be contaminated by Korea's nuclear activities, the Global Times declared. The paper also warned that China was able to strike back at any side red line, and that would impose an oil embargo against the North's response to any more tests. Terry said it's China that crossed the red line. Rarely criticizes China directly, referring to China as a neighboring country. Korea's main suspended imports of North Korean coal in line with the UN sanctions and has begun urging Pyongyang and missile activities amid U.S. pressure to use its leverage to help solve the nuclear standoff before tensions escalate even further. The article that I have for you, the Conservative Tribune, and as the hamster rolls it up here we go. Trump sends ICE agents to 4 states, gets exact results we need. Scroller up here a little bit for me. Well, after every technical issue that I have had to deal with today, the hamster is the least of my problems. He better watch his P's and Q's. Since President Donald Trump repeatedly vowed on the campaign trail that he would deport criminal illegal aliens living in the United States and would finally allow immigration and customs enforcement to do its job, ICE has been working swiftly under the new leadership in the White House, and its latest operation nabbed illegal aliens wanted on some pretty serious charges in 4 states: Texas, Florida, New York, New Jersey, and Puerto Rico, the Washington Examiner reported. Their suspected crimes include murder, weapons trafficking, child sex crimes, according to the Examiner. And waiting for the hamster. Wheel is spinning. This operation was focused on fugitives and criminal aliens, said Patrick Contreras. For Houston, public safety remains top priority for ICE. Focused 5-day operation, but our routine operations occur daily. Noted that several of those arrested were from the notorious MS-13 gang, which Attorney General Jeff Sessions has vowed to crack down on. Large-scale sweep that ICE Trump became president, the Washington Post noted that ICE conducted a similar 5-state sweep in early April that nabbed 82 criminals. And there is some related video in this if you want to pull it up to watch it. Made it clear that his priority when it comes to deporting illegals is criminals convicted of terrible crimes so that Americans are protected. I have a president who puts the safety of the American people above all else and is willing to let our law enforcement agencies do what they need to do to keep all of us safe. All or fence or whatever you want to call it is built, and all or most of the criminal illegal aliens have been deported, then and only then, or we can all have a productive discussion about what to do about the non-criminal illegals in this country. Until then, by all indications of the young presidency, will continue to ensure that the law is enforced and Americans are safe. Next article that I have for you. Pack review. As soon as the hamster catches up to us here. He's running in the wheel. Activist courts study finds refugees streaming into the U.S. has hit a rapid decline. Trying to get her to scroll up here. Donald J. Trump is calling for total and complete. A little too fast for me. Too fast. He has got no medium speed. Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what's going on, said candidate Trump in December of 2015. 100 days in office, Trump signed 2 executive orders aiming to halt immigration from a few Muslim majority nations. It's of extremism. Blocked by left-leaning federal courts, that is clear. An analysis done by USA Today indicates there has been a drastic decrease in the number of refugees admitted into the United States this year already, that undoubtedly be attributed to Trump's tough stance on admitting refugees in the nation to strengthen our vetting process. The United States accepted 2,070 refugees in March of this year, which was the lowest monthly in 2013. 16 refugees admitted in April, making it the second lowest month since 2013. From this administration about refugees are shocking to me, said Kay Beller of Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service. It's language I've never heard used with refugees, enjoyed bipartisan support because they're the best part. Does. Scroll Up a little bit more here. This occurred in 2015, and he went a little too far. Feast or famine, chicken or feathers? Come on, hamster. Following the rise of ISIS and other forms of extremism in the Middle East, particularly in Syria and Iran. The crisis led to upwards of 2 million refugees migrating to Europe. Under the President Obama, the United States accepted 70,000 in 2016, except 110,000 in 2017 of action when he won the election. Trump's extreme measures came in lieu of the violence that stemmed across Europe. Thousands of ritual assaults have skyrocketed in Sweden, Cologne, Germany, and many other places from refugees, which documented. Terrorist attacks have also hit historic levels since the refugee crisis in 2015. Terrorist attacks across Europe, 10,537 people in 18,803 reported attacks of 1970 of 2015. Terrorist database called the GTD. There we go. The GTD highlights that the problems have dramatically increased since 2014, when the refugee crisis began. Attacks between 2014 have resulted in the highest number of deaths in Europe since 2004. Waiting on the hamster. Froggy for me here. Ambitious, and scrolls clear to the bottom of the page. And these two factors, amongst other variables, the White House has indicated they're only aiming to accept 50,000 refugees annually, amid concerns that terrorists may be embedded in the flow of refugees to the United States. Next one we have is off of Breitbart. Emory University to pay for 100% students' financial aid. Emory University of Atlanta, Georgia, has announced that they will fund 100% of financial aid packages for students that are in the country illegally. Students are expected to pay full tuition, and undocumented undergraduate students at Emory will have 100% of demonstrated financial need covered by the university. Emory meets 100% of demonstrated financial need for undergraduate undocumented students are admitted as first-year, first-degree seeking students from a U.S. high school through a combination of grants and scholarships, institutional work study, DACA students only, additional loans. Undocumented students without DACA status may receive an institutional loan in place of the typical work study award, the university website states. The College Fix, a spokeswoman for Emory, claimed that providing full financial aid relief to undocumented students reflects the university's commitment to welcoming students from diverse backgrounds. Undocumented students for admission and financial aid, including those under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival, McRaney wrote, adding that providing financial aid coverage to undocumented students aligns with Emory's goal of welcoming students, faculty, and staff from diverse backgrounds. International students who are not afforded the same aid privileges, undocumented students, will be forced to foot a $70,000 a year tuition bill if they wish to attend the prestigious Georgian University. Breitbart News reported that students at Emory claimed that they were scared and in pain after students wrote pro-Trump chalk messages on these sidewalks. I can't make this stuff up. A university that wants to support, I mean, fully financially support activity certainly hope that their funding, their federal funding, is cut out completely. Conservative Tribune. Next one. Hell on earth or something. Trump for federal policies that would penalize sanctuary cities for harboring illegal immigrants. The Texas state government has been formulating an anti-sanctuary policy of its own. In fact, legislature has moved to the final step of passing a bill that would penalize jurisdictions, including college campuses, departments that protect illegal immigrants, according to Breitbart. Senate Bill 4, criminal justice agencies, campus police departments, and local jurisdictions from discouraging or prohibiting a person who is a commissioned peace officer, correction officer, booking clerk, magistrate, district attorney, criminal district attorney, or other prosecuting attorney from following immigration laws. The law would subject these local and state entities to civil penalties of up to $25,500 for any civil penalties collected under the law would be used to compensate crime victims. Governmental bodies would also be prevented from receiving state grant money and could lose their sovereign immunity in lawsuits brought against them because of injuries caused by the release of criminal aliens who commit a felony within 10 years of their release. Furthermore, the law Class A misdemeanor for any elected official, such as a sheriff or other law enforcement officer, and those appointed by them to refuse to cooperate with federal immigration officials. To combat sanctuary cities in the state came on the heels of a March 20th ICE report. Travis County, Texas. Come on, hamster. Well, it's not cooperating with me here. Here we go. Travis County, Texas, to be the #1 jurisdiction in the country for not complying with federal immigration detainers. In fact, over 70% of the 206 criminal aliens released January 28th through February 3rd were released by the Travis County Sheriff's Office. Representative Charlie Green, in the Texas House, said the bill was put forth to protect Texans from criminals who were here illegally. Make sure those bad actors are detained until we can determine their status, explained. Will not affect law-abiding citizens, only those that are in trouble with the police. Texas House passed the bill on a 94-53 party line vote Thursday afternoon, a vote praised by the Texas House Republican caucus. Comes after governmental Texas have adopted sanctuary city policies that purposefully hinder or prohibit law enforcement with the U.S. Immigration and Customs officers from inquiring about a person's immigration status, the GOP lawmaker said. The bill have argued would discourage victims or witnesses of crimes from coming forward because of their immigration status. It expressly provides enforcement official may not question such individuals about their immigration status. In community outreach activities involving victims of family or domestic violence also may not inquire into immigration status. Angie Junick, attorney at the Immigration Legal Resource Center in San Francisco, said the Texas bill would be the first in the country to explicitly compel local jurisdictions to honor ICE detainer requests and impose criminal charges on those who don't day to day. Since it passed the House with amendments, a conference committee of both Senate and House representatives would work toward a mutually agreeable bill before sending it to Governor Greg Abbott for his signature, according to the Washington Examiner, who pushed for the law's passage in the state legislature, has vowed to sign it into law if enacted to effect on September the 1st, 2017. All I have for you is off of BizPack Review. No tacos for you. Libs outraged at the mere thought of Trump's supporters celebrating Cinco de Mayo. Then candidate Donald Trump celebrated the Mexican holiday of Cinco de Mayo last year with a taco bowl from Trump Tower Grill. With this year, or try that again. This year, although the White House traditionally celebrates the holiday every year with parties either in the East Room or the Rose Garden, President Trump won't be in attendance. And while liberals will likely attribute some sort of nefarious intentions behind Trump's absence, he has a good excuse. The president is scheduled to be in New York City on Thursday to meet with Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, according to the Washington Examiner. Instead, Vice President Mike Pence will host a Thursday reception in the Indian Treaty Room of the Eisenhower Executive Office building. Plenty of liberals used Twitter to express not only their satisfaction that Trump won't be celebrating the holiday, but their wish that any and all Trump supporters follow suit. List of tweets underneath that says, if you voted for Trump, I bet see you posting about Cinco de Mayo. And there's a list of them that's very similar. Tacos for us, we get it. For you history buffs, here's a nice alternative. And Alexis Isabel posted, Cinco de Mayo is coming up, so I'd like to remind white people dressing up in sombreros and mustaches and getting drunk is annoying and racist. And Joe Texian says, that's okay, I don't celebrate Cinco de Mayo. I celebrate San Jacinto Day. I don't get butthurt if people dress up like Sam Houston either. The next one we have headlines, it says Clinton Obama land grabs were abuses of Antiquities Act. Trump recently signed an executive order that tasks the Interior Department with investigating 24 of the 57 national monuments designated since 1996. Some worry that this order is the first step in allowing presidents to reverse national monument designations. But these orders address a deeper issue, whether a century-old law has been abused by presidents in the past 20 years. This act may have been important for preserving some Native American artifacts. The recent monument designations have allowed presidents to affect the access millions of acres of land without regard to local effects. 6. The Antiquities Act has allowed presidents to change the use of land to a pin. Frequently never seen. The Antiquities Act was designed to allow presidents to protect lands that are in immediate danger of being damaged. Specifies that designated areas must cover the smallest area compatible with proper care and management of the objects to be protected. Created under the Antiquities Act, Devil's Tower National Monument in Wyoming covers 1,347 acres, 3 square miles. The monument covers the Devil's Tower itself, nothing more. Bears Ears National Monument, an area in southern Utah designated in 2016, covers far more than it's named for. The monument spans 1.35 million acres, roughly 2,100 square miles, and includes neighboring canyons, gulches, and even an existing wilderness area. Designations are made over vast swaths of land The result can be devastating to locals. In 1996, President Bill Clinton designated Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument, an area in southern Utah that covers acres. Clinton announced the designation from the south rim of the Grand Canyon in Arizona, more than 100 miles from the monument itself. Locals and Utah officials were blindsided. Were concerned about mining in the area. There was no local movement and protect the land with a federal designation. It seems that Clinton might have designated the area purely in a political ploy, not in the interest of protecting the land. In 2016, nearly the end of his time in office, President Barack Obama designated Bears Ears National Monument. Prior to the designation, Utah Representative Rob Bishop, a Republican, proposed the Public Lands Initiative, an alternative to the national monument that would have created 11 conservation areas and added to or created 41 wilderness areas. In addition, up some of Utah's lands to energy development. May have been national support for the monument's designation. Many Utahns and those closest to the area did not want it. Restricts grazing and prohibits the collection of wood in that area. Since many locals depend on wood to heat their homes and cook their food, the national monument could hurt local people. To agree that the American landscape should be managed in such a way that our great-great-grandchildren will be able to enjoy its beauty. In that respect, the intentions of the Antiquities Act are noble. But designations like Grand Staircase Escalante and Bears Ears that cover millions of acres and ignore local impacts suggest the law has been abused. Evidence of local overreach, we shouldn't be afraid to examine recent national monument designations. When laws intend to protect some of our most valued landscapes are instead abused to win political battles, and future generations of Americans lose. And I will just interject here. Follow the money. I mean, it's all about the mining. The Clintons selling off all the on those lands, doing the land grab so that they could sell it off and pocket the money. That's what it's all about. It's not about the beauty of the land. It's not about future generations. It's in the greed of our politicians. And it needs to stop. The corruption needs to stop. I have for you is off of activistpost.com. As soon as the hamster gets with the program here. There we go. Victory. Supreme Court rules states cannot steal money from the innocent. Lower, isn't it? Colorado, like most states, forces convicted criminals to pay court costs, fees, and after they've been found guilty. But the question arises, what happens when someone who's been found guilty has paid their dues and then has their conviction overturned on appeal? Not in many states, like Colorado. Changed after a landmark ruling from the Supreme Court of the United States, SCOTUS. State not stealing money from innocent people sounds like common sense, right? In the land of the free, it was necessary for SCOTUS to step in and tell the greedy state that they do not have the right to steal people's money. Defendants Shannon Nelson and Lewis Madden were convicted for several offenses in order to pay thousands of dollars in court costs, fees, and restitution. Between their conviction, the state withheld $702 from Nelson's inmate account, while Madden paid Colorado $1,977. When the convictions were overturned, Nelson and Madden demanded their money back. Even after the plaintiffs won in a state-level appellate court, insisted that if they wanted their money back, claim under the Act, forcing the defendants to once again prove their innocence to The plaintiffs appealed all the way to the Supreme Court, who sided with the citizens in a 7-1 ruling declaring Colorado's constitutional. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, majority opinion, declaring the Exoneration Act scheme does not the Fourth Amendment guarantee of due process. Ginsburg wrote that Nelson and Madden are entitled to be presumed innocent and should not be saddled with any proof of burden what is already theirs. In other words, they shouldn't have to demonstrate that they're not criminals after the court's already made such a determination, according to Forbes. Colorado's argument that the presumption of innocence applies only to criminal trials and not to civilians. Exoneration Act does not presume a person guilty of no crime, nonetheless guilty enough for monetary extractions. On the surface, may not seem like much, but holds promise for putting an end to the much criticized practice enforcement agencies around the country, asset forfeiture. The Free Thought Project has worked diligently to highlight such fiscally abusive practices taking place all around the country. Take, for instance, hang on. Well, come on, hamster. Goodness sakes. Hamster is slacking. What his problem is. Something. Get rid of that. There we go. Okay, now back to where I was. Find my place before I was so rudely interrupted. Take, for instance, rapper Black Youngsta's run-in with the law back in January. Atlanta police withdrawing $200,000 cash from his bank account, money, and buy his favorite sports car. But police were notified was detained as being a possible bank. In essence, the police seized the money and forced the rapper to reclaim his own funds after entitled to it. Police shakedown made international news and smacked in the face of common sense, as many were left scratching their heads and asking how police could be doing what common street thugs often do, take other people's money. TFTP reported from 1998 to 2010, more than $12 billion was raked in. Oops, jumping on me here. What's it trying to do to me now? Got something else trying to pop up. $1 billion was raked in from law enforcement at all levels of government. This translated into the government taking away $600 million more dollars robberies and thefts during that same period. Seem more crooked than the individuals they're trying to arrest. And the practice isn't limited to law enforcement. Previously reported, the DEA seized more than $4 billion in cash from people since 2007, but $3 billion of the seizures were never connected to any criminal charges, not even include the seizures of cars and electronics. General of the Justice Department concluded their practices constituted a threat to everyone's civil liberties, and now apparently the SCOTUS agrees. Everyone is entitled to due process under the law and are likewise entitled to keeping their assets once they found guilty in criminal court. It's a good day to be an American. Maybe now law enforcement will stop such controversial practices. Article I have for you. Mail says, is your money safe? Try that again. Could affect millions of customers around the world by intercepting two-step login verification codes. The bank or the hack uses a weakness in global telecom network called Signal System 7, SS7. Criminals intercept access codes sent by banks to verify a customer's identity. The exploit could be used on any bank that uses two-step login verification. Any other website that uses this method is vulnerable to the attack. Try this again. It was designed as a security measure to increase protection of internet users across the globe. But hackers have used a well-known security vulnerability in world mobile telecoms networks to steal access codes to online bank accounts. The exploit could be used against any bank that uses two-step login verification, as well as high-profile websites like Facebook, Google, and many others. It has come out of your bank account or malicious messages have been sent on social media, you won't know you've been hit. The attacks first reported in Germany are the first time that criminals have been able to exploit the Signal System 7 to steal funds from bank accounts. SS7 service helps mobile networks across the world in text, for example, by keeping calls connected as users speed along roads, switching from signal tower to signal tower. Also be used by criminals to redirect data, and hackers have now found a way to intercept the two-stage authentication codes sent out by banks. To verify the identity of customers attempting to log into their accounts and place some online transactions. They are in the forms of SMS messages, and by intercepting these codes through the SS7 service, criminals have free rein to empty funds from your account. Reported by a German newspaper, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, were confirmed by the telecoms company O2 Telefonica through try that again. Got stuff jumping around here on me. Although it is not known if their customers were affected. But most banks and high-profile websites use the two-step method, meaning millions of users around the world could be vulnerable. Already come to the attention of legislators in the U.S. who are calling for a crackdown on the flaw, which has been known since 2014. Congressman Ted W. Lieu said in a statement, everyone's accounts protected by text-based two-factor authentication, such as bank accounts, are potentially at risk. And telecom industry fix the devastating SS7 security flaw. Both the FCC and telecom industry have been aware that hackers can acquire our text messages and phone conversations, just a phone number. It is unacceptable. The FCC and telecom industry have not to protect our privacy and financial security. It was also in Germany that researchers discovered the flaw in the SS7 in December of 2014. They warned at the time that hackers could use the exploit to locate callers anywhere in the world, listen to calls as they happen, or record hundreds of encrypted calls and texts at a time for later decryption. Two-step authentication codes continue to be sent by SMS messages by many of the world's largest internet companies. Among them is Google, who promotes two-step verification as an extra layer of security designed to keep the bad guys out. Thankfully, already have access to the first stage of verification, namely your username and password for the attack to work, and this is something you can control. Usually sourced from data leaks affecting other sites, as people often use the same passwords. There are a number of websites that collect information on mass data breaches and allow you to check whether your details are among them, including one widely used site, Have I Been Pwned. It's Pwned question mark. It is important to note that in a data breach, for example, where your Hotmail email address is listed in a breach of LinkedIn, it is the password for LinkedIn which hackers have access to the Hotmail account unless they are the same. That is why it is vital to use different and complex passwords across different sites. A breach of your password on one site does not allow hackers to access your accounts on others. Reputable password managers that suggest strong passwords and stores them in an encrypted file on your own computer can make these more simple to generate and remember. The next article, the Daily Mail. It says Obama's team asked for NSA secrets on more than 30,000 Americans in 2016 and circulated 6,000 intelligence reports without removing their names. Officials searched for the names of 30,000 Americans in comms metadata. That data includes only information such as email addresses and phone numbers. But they also searched for 5,288 Americans within the communications. Reports were then passed around government departments visible. Legally, NSA gathers only data on foreigners using U.S. infrastructure, it claims, but critics say that it pulls in much more info, including that of U.S. citizens. The team used NSA technology to examine data gathered on tens of thousands of Americans abroad using the election. It has emerged, or during the election, it has emerged. Metadata and the actual contents of communications for the names of more than 30,000 U.S. citizens, according to data released by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence this week. And more than 3,000 of the resulting intelligence reports were then circulated among government departments without the names of the searched parties being redacted, sources with the told Circa. The data officially only gathered on non-U.S. citizens outside America that use U.S. infrastructure such as email servers. But critics say that the pull of NSA's system is so strong that it routinely sweeps up data does not legally have access to. I think it's alarming. There seems to be a universal trend toward more surveillance and more surveillance that impacts Americans' privacy. A warrant, Nima Signa-Gillini, the ACLU's Legislative Council said, confirms that there is a lack of acknowledgement, specifically and increasingly mined about Americans for investigations that have little or nothing to do with international terrorism. Searched for the names of 30,355 Americans in communications metadata in 2016, a 27.5% increase on the previous year. Metadata includes email addresses and phone numbers, but not the content of actual communications. But officials also searched communications themselves for the names of 5,288 Americans compared to just 198 in 2013. Include searches by the FBI, which are likely to increase the numbers dramatically. As a result of the Obama administration searches, thousands of NSA intelligence reports were created and circulated among government offices that had the names of U.S. residents visible. Would be redacted and replaced with America #1 or something similar. Half those cases, the identities were initially redacted, but later unmasked by the Obama administration. Among those that were unmasked were members of Donald Trump's 2016 election campaign team. 3,134 NSA intelligence reports with of U.S. citizens were created in 2016. Before were created in 2015. The increase in searches is a result of Obama's 2011 decision to loosen restrictions placed on the sharing of information, sources told Circa. One who did not wish to be named said, "It's simply easier for people to make requests." Safeguards, there is always concern and vigilance about possible political or motives that go beyond national security concerns. Officials have the power to unmask a name, once considered a rare act, and need only identity of a United States person is necessary to understand foreign intelligence information or assess its importance, according to a 2011 related to Obama's easing of intelligence rules. Officials confirmed that the increase has come as officials with the 2011 changes. Joel, head of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence Office of Civil Liberties, Privacy and Transparency, the newly released report of transparency. Our goal is to provide relevant information distilled into an accessible format, he said. This year's report in that direction, providing significant information beyond what's statutorily required and reflecting our concerted effort to enhance clarity. The next article is off Liberty Writers. Then Watergate. What Susan Rice just did will have Hillary and Obama screaming. On Wednesday, Susan Rice, the former national security advisor under President Obama, declined a request from Senator Lindsey Graham to participate in a hearing on Russian interference in the election. It was obtained by CNN from Susan Rice's lawyer and outlines Rice's reasons for not showing up. Rest to Senator Graham and Senator Whitehouse. And it says, "Dear Chairman Graham and Ranking Member Whitehouse, I write on behalf of my client, Ambassador Susan E. Rice, in response to Senator Graham's invitation to Ambassador Rice to testify at a May 8, 2017 hearing before Senate Committee on the Judiciary. Crime and terrorism entitled Russian Interference in the 2016 United States election." Rice commends the subcommittee's efforts to examine this matter of extraordinary national significance. It is extremely rare for Congress to request the testimony of a former senior advisor to the president, given the long-standing and well-recognized powers concerning the issue. Moreover, Chairman Graham's invitation was extended only after the hearing was noticed, before the hearing was scheduled to occur, and without consultation with Ambassador Rice, a professional courtesy that would customarily be extended to any witness. Notwithstanding the significance of these concerns, Ambassador Rice is prepared to assist congressional inquiries into Russian election interference because of the important national interests at stake, provided they are conducted in a bipartisan manner and as appropriate in classified session. In this case, however, Senator Whitehouse has informed us by letter that he did not agree to Chairman Graham's invitation to Ambassador Rice, a significant departure from the bipartisan invitations extended to other witnesses. Under these circumstances, Ambassador Rice respectfully declined Senator Graham's invitation to testify. Again, Ambassador Rice has stated publicly she supports and is committed to assisting the bipartisan congressional inquiries into Russian interference in the 2016 election, given the utmost importance of this matter to our national security. And it is signed by Catherine of Latham Watkins, LLP. CNN had to say. Rice considered the invitation a play to distract attention from the investigation into Russian election interference, including contacts between Trump allies and Russians during the campaign. Graham first told CNN before the letter was sent that he had invited Rice before the Senate panel to determine whether the Obama administration tried to politicize intelligence, part of his broader investigation into Russian meddling in the 2016 U.S. election. This means that Susan Rice is choosing not to go before Congress. She acted improperly and used her position to spy on the Trump administration. Next article and final one for today is off BizPack Review. Time to throw Wiener under the bus. Senator calls for special prosecutor to probe Abedin's emails. Abedin's problem stemming from her marriage to pervert and former Senator Anthony Weiner continue to mount, and is no longer Republicans that have their sights set on former top aide to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. Connecticut Democrat Senator Richard Blumenthal NBC's Morning Joe that he wanted a special prosecutor to investigate Abedin after FBI Director James Comey confirmed to the Senate on Wednesday that Abedin emailed classified information to her husband's laptop. If there was classified information and it was improperly passed to a person unauthorized to receive it, yes, naturally, it's a crime, he told host Joe Scarborough. Without knowing what the intentions were and so forth, there is potentially a prosecutable crime. He said it's possible that Abedin could still be prosecuted for a crime. Maybe potentially. It's not outside the statute of limitations, so far as I know. It's one that the Department of Justice is going to have to decide, the senator said. The question is, who will decide it? That's why we need a special prosecutor to review all of this investigative material. All said that it proves her party is not reflexively partisan and are willing to look into wrongdoing. Williams wondered if Democrats were simply willing to sacrifice Abedin and Weiner because the letter has been an embarrassment to the party. I will happily throw Anthony Weiner under the bus, Ball said. I've never wanted to throw a Weiner under a bus, but I have wanted to throw one on a grill a time or two. With that, that's all I have for you today. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up, share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news, and don't forget to subscribe. That way you'll stay informed.